Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially the home stretch here as we enter the weekend. We do have Donald Trump right now up by about 20 points in terms of the poly market average. Now, Trump has gone down by about 7 points within the past 3 or 4 days, and that's mainly because of the liberal narrative of the Rust Belt, and that is really their only path. There's been more positive polls for Harris out of the Rust Belt all of a sudden within the past 3 or 4 days. It really started with that CNN poll, but we have seen a few other polls. I'm going to get to the Real Clear Politics polling numbers, but right now, in looking at this map, you still do have a pretty standard look. I will say, looks like Michigan now is a slight Harris lean with around a 58% chance. Looking at Wisconsin, it is I would say basically 50-50. Pennsylvania, Trump is at 56. So we are seeing in the Rust Belt, and really that's her only path at this point, especially with Nevada getting more red, right around a 64% chance. The polling there has been really, really good. Her only path is the Rust Belt, and she's been getting more positive polls, specifically in Wisconsin and Michigan, not so much Pennsylvania, but there does seem to be some desperation within the Harris campaign and a lot of these pollsters to put out good polls for Harris in the Rust Belt because there is no other path. They've given up Georgia. They've given up North Carolina. It's not going to happen in Arizona. We can move down here. We've got 75, and it's actually gone up even more, 75% chance for Trump in Arizona, 72% in Georgia. Nevada's at 64, Pennsylvania 57, Wisconsin sitting at 48% for Trump, and then Michigan at 42. And we do also have Trump decreasing in terms of the popular vote winner, which really doesn't make a lot of sense to me considering the popular vote numbers really haven't shifted all that much. But I will be taking a look at all of the updated Real Clear Politics polls. And this is honestly, listen, you're going to get this. You're going to get shifts one way or another. I'm going to go through all the polls. I think I'll start with the Trump versus Harris right now. And you do have Trump still sitting plus 0.3. You do have that tracking poll. Oh, no, this isn't the tracking poll. This is a 3-day TIPP. Trump sitting plus 1. I don't know if that's their final poll or what. The Atlas Intel final is Trump plus 2. They were the most accurate pollster in 2020. You'll take a Trump plus 2. The Forbes Harris X has Harris up 2. I've seen that. The final Rasmussen, they just released another one today, their final one. I think their final one is Trump plus 2.5. So when that gets updated, I don't think it's going to change very much. But other than that, we are looking at these bottom polls possibly to be updated. Are we going to get another Fox News? Their last one was on the 14th. Are we going to get another USA Today general election poll, CNBC, Wall Street Journal? Those are the ones we're going to be looking at, but overall, this does look basically 50-50 in terms of the popular vote, which is obviously amazing news for Donald Trump. They would have to severely underestimate Trump, you would think, for him to lose, although the math is going to be a little bit different, but I still would say and maintain the belief that if Trump loses by 1 point in terms of the popular vote, he's still going to win the general election with the Electoral College, so that would be an error over favoring Trump by 1.3, and he would still win. And I think possibly 2 points Trump would win, meaning if Harris, just like Hillary Clinton did, she wins the popular vote by 2 points, Trump can still win. Now going state by state, we're going to take a look at this one by one and see the updated numbers. There looks like there was one new poll, Predictive Insights, Trump plus 1, but overall Arizona looks really, really nice for Trump. I don't think many liberals are going to be predicting Arizona. I mean, you're going to see a common theme as I go through these. Basically, their path, I think, for them, they're going to say, well, it's the Rust Belt, and if it's not Pennsylvania, they're going to try and do a combination of North Carolina and Nevada. That's what I would say they're going to try and do. For Trump, he can win all of these states, and he's the favorite in several of them pretty heavily, and Arizona is one of them. You've got Trump sitting plus 2.3. In 2020, at this time, Trump was plus 0.6. He ended up losing the state by 0.3, so the polls were off by less than a point, which obviously would be very good this time because even if Trump underperforms the polls by less than a point, he'd still win by 1.8 or 1.9. I think Trump is probably going to close very well in the Arizona polls and probably be up by around 3. But we will see. We'll see if CBS releases a new one trending heavily in Trump's direction when you look at Arizona. And this certainly looks like a state that Trump has closed very, very well on. Now, moving on to Nevada, you do have Trump plus 1.5. A new poll came in with Trump plus 6. I certainly don't think he's going to win the state by 6 points, but that has boosted up Trump pretty significantly. You could say that's an outlier, but there was also the Atlas poll that had Trump plus 4. It's a very, very close state. There's no doubt about it. I would lean Trump. Even without that poll, I think Trump has the advantage and right now the momentum in Nevada, and it's probably going to be about a half-point win in Nevada, I would say, for Trump. Again, that poll is helping him out significantly. The early vote's been very good as well. Not that the early vote means much, it doesn't, but in Nevada, I know they've made a lot of noise about the early vote being very positive for Trump. So Nevada looks pretty good. Arizona, Nevada, this is where you start running into some problems when you look at Trump and his polling recently, and this is why you're seeing the difference in terms of the Rust Belt go down. You've got Harris sitting plus 0.3. I mean, this is nothing. We know how much Trump overperforms in Wisconsin. Now, I'm not predicting Trump's going to overperform. Well, actually, I am predicting. I think Trump will overperform the polls again in Wisconsin. You take a look at 2020, Biden plus 7, Hillary plus 5. Trump overperformed both of those by like 6 points or something around there. So if he overperforms even by 3 points, he wins the state easily. You've got that Marist, which has been very liberal throughout this entire cycle. I know people were very upset with that. Harris sitting plus 2, a few polls that have it tied, a Trump plus 1, the CNN poll, which really shifted the overall average. If this is a Harris plus 2 and not a Harris plus 6, Trump is leading the aggregate by like 0.3. That just goes to show you, and it's complete crap. CNN's poll is wrong. She's not going to win by 6, and I don't think she's going to win by 3, let alone 6. I don't think she's going to win by 1. But I'm just saying, in terms of just, even if you just non-biased look at it, there's no way she wins by 6. That is a pure outlier. You've got a Harris plus 2, tie, Trump plus 1, plus 6, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, tie, plus 2. It's a clear outlier. At least with the Arizona plus 6, you had another Atlas Intel plus 4. So to me, that's a clear outlier. This is Wisconsin. These are very good numbers. If we go into election, I'll predict Trump to win Wisconsin for sure. These numbers don't scare me at all. Let's take a look at 2020 and 2016. And I'm not requiring a crazy polling error, by the way. Look at this. The final numbers, Biden finished plus 6.7. He won by 0.7. They underestimated Trump by 6 points in 2020. And obviously, if they underestimated Trump by 6 points, he'd win the state by 6. But it doesn't have to happen. We don't even need an underestimation. It's within the margin. Trump can win the state easily by 2 or 3, with the polls being relatively correct. Now, moving on to Michigan, you've got that Marist poll that's updated, and it's pushed Harris further into the lead. That's a Harris plus 3. The Atlas Intel has Trump barely up, but they've rounded it down to a tie. Mitchell Research, Insider Advantage. Insider Advantage was very good in 2020. They've got Trump plus 1, plus 1. Washington Post, Harris plus 1. Very, very close polling. Tie. You've got a Harris plus 5, Harris plus 4. If these polls get knocked off, you're going to see this average go down. But this Marist poll is going to be a problem for Trump in terms of closing in the aggregate in Michigan. But again, you're talking about being down by 0.8 with potential Harris plus 5 and plus 4 getting whopped off of the average. It's probably going to go down to plus 0.3 or somewhere around there. Now, looking at 2020, and again, we're not requiring a crazy polling error. In 2020, it was a little bit less pronounced when you look at Michigan. You had Biden plus 4.2. He won by 2.8. Trump closed decently well. But in terms of, what is that, a 1.5 point error? Obviously, if that happened again, Trump would win. 2016, it was more pronounced when it came to the polling error in Michigan. But either way, I have seen some Republicans now say, well, Michigan's going to be liberal, but Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are going to be conservative. Michigan right now does seem like it's got the highest chance out of any swing state to go liberal, which could be a problem for the other Rust Belt states if you believe in all of them voting together. However, with the margins being so slim, that might not end up being what happens. We'll have to see. Moving on to Pennsylvania, pretty good numbers for Trump. You had the Marist poll. That's going to bring him down a little bit. Washington Post, I'm not concerned. USA Today, I think that was updated, I guess, yesterday, or maybe they just put it in today. Atlas Intel plus 1. A lot of polls here that have Trump plus 1, plus 2. Very, very close polling. There's no doubt about it. That Bloomberg might fall off. If it falls off, that'd be good. I wonder if Trafalgar will be doing a final poll. I'm guessing. I'd be pretty confident Trafalgar will do a Trump plus 2, plus 3, but we'll see. Trump sitting plus 0.4. Very, very close state. There's no doubt about it. But if Trump closes like this, I see no reason why Trump doesn't win this state by 1.5 to 2 points. These polls check out to me as a Trump victory, and looking at it, really nothing's changed outside of a few polls. It's more so the internet momentum with Harris, and that's why people are starting to get worried about the Rust Belt. But these polls really don't concern me at all. I mean, this is just typical stuff. I mean, whether Trump's up by 0.3 or Harris is up by 0.3, it's anecdotal. It's barely a difference. You're looking at the overall, polls and the combination of everything, and we're seeing Trump overperform his polls relative to 2020, relative to 2016. It's a very small change. You've got a CNN outlier plus 6, and they think that changes the entire election. It's ridiculous. Moving on to North Carolina. This is a state that some liberals still think they can win. You've got Trump plus 4, plus 3, plus 3, plus 1. Amazing. Harris plus 1, Trump plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. Very, very good numbers in North Carolina. There would have to be I would be surprised if Trump lost this state based off of just these numbers alone, let alone the fact that he won it in 2020. At this time, Biden was leading by 1.2. That's a polling error of like two and a half points against Trump. If we get that again, Trump's going to win by 3.5. I think Trump will win this state probably by 2.5 though, or maybe a little bit under that. I do think North Carolina is going to be closer than Georgia, but I think Trump wins both North Carolina and Georgia. There's no reason not to predict it right now based on all of the numbers, based on prior history. Trump is looking good in North Carolina. It's another Sun Belt state, and it's a state they might just, I'm not saying they've given up. I mean, there are still liberals that think they can win it. But there has been rumors about the campaign diverting from taking funds away from North Carolina and putting them into other states. And then Georgia's obviously the one where we've got Trump winning every single poll. He's up by 2.6 in terms of the overall average. Georgia looks amazing. So guys, what we're seeing is the Rust Belt. That, to me, that's it. And they can try and say, well, maybe Nevada and maybe Nevada. We don't know. I mean, but right now it is the Rust Belt. That is what's changing these numbers. And that's what's brought Trump down to around 59.5. And this is what it is. When you see positive Harris polls, she's going to go up. This isn't a conspiracy. They say, oh my God, it's Republican degens. Well, now Harris is getting the positive polls and she's going up. This is just what happens. As long as Trump stays around, listen, it is what it is with the betting. If you told me, 3 days before the election, Trump is sitting 60-40, I would take it. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to cope or anything like that. But this is still a very good spot for Trump to be in. You want to be Trump and not Harris. Harris has to win 3 states. Otherwise, she has no path outside of lucky upset wins, in a North Carolina or a Nevada, which they can still maybe try and swing. But at this point, you're looking at heavy leads for Trump in Georgia and Arizona and a slight lead in Pennsylvania. North Carolina looks decent. Maybe you bring in a New Hampshire, but I know the dialogue really hasn't been there today about New Hampshire based off of some of the recent polls. We'll have to see, but I still think this checks out. I understand it's gone down. There's going to be some adversity. People have to understand this is what happens in an election. This is the Democratic Party. They spend billions of dollars on this. You're going to have to deal with this. It is what it is. Trump is down by about 7 points in terms of the betting. That's fine. I'm fine to report on that. It's not a big deal. Trump is still the favorite in this election. And so now they're trying to swing and say, oh my God, the Rust Belt, she's got one path. Okay, you want to be Trump in this scenario. Trust me, you want to be Trump when it comes to this stuff. I just went through all the polls, and even like Nate Silver's got Trump at 55%. Now maybe it's gone down, to be fair, with some of the polls. I think maybe Silver's model, it's gone down like 54, 55. But Real Clear Politics, 538, which is super liberals, like 50-50, which is basically signals a Trump victory. You want to be Trump in this scenario. Absolutely. And you're seeing, a correction. You're seeing a few positive polls in Michigan for Harris. But even that, I mean, it's like, are these really that drastic to where it pushes Harris way up? I don't think so. I mean, that Marist, they've been very liberal. I mean, Vance talked about how they had Vance possibly losing in the 2022 Senate, which is just ridiculous. I mean, Vance was never going to lose that race, but they had Vance down by 6 points or whatever. So Marist, it is what it is. You're going to get these polls. I mean, you've got the aggregate and you've got a Harris plus 0.8, and we are used to polling errors, but you don't even need a polling error. If Trump wins by 1, that's really not a polling error. It's within the margin. So Trump is polling way better than he was in 2020 or 2016. Worst case scenario, Trump's forced to split the Rust Belt. That's fine, because they've really pigeonholed themselves out of Arizona and out of Georgia and potentially out of North Carolina. So they have to win all of the Rust Belts. And if Trump takes Pennsylvania but loses Wisconsin and Michigan, Trump still wins. And then obviously if Trump loses all of the Rust Belt but somehow is able to flip a New Hampshire or a Virginia, Trump wins as well. So that's where we are right now on Friday night. There's people getting angry. Why is Trump not at 70%? This is what happens. There's going to be adversity. It's not a big deal. Trump is the favorite. They're trying to rewrite the election. Trump's been the favorite this entire time. The mainstream media has said it's 50-50, 50-50. They've said it's 50-50 this entire time. When you're losing, you say it's 50-50. That's why I never say it's 50-50, because we're winning. It's not 50-50. We are winning. And Trump will win this election. So guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.